other, and that's just wicked. He's so
that pushed that. He couldn't have sex with a woman no more because he was used to being with a man in prison.
Friday after next show.
Friday after next day. Yep. And that's a real something that happened to our people. And that was part of the course that they just submit unto that this pride shit.
damn.
About the prison.
Yep.
Isaiah 42:21. The Lord is well pleased for his righteous saints. He will magnify the law and make it honorable. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses.
Yep.
They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith, restore.
And when you go to 1 Corinthians the 11th chapter, it shows you the order. And the integral part of that order is you can't turn your hour. You can't turn your hour shy. So let's get the men. Because if we take the men out, there's no more connection to the women and children. But we already got the women. They're going to follow power and emotions in the flesh. So now they're going to teach that same vibration down to the children, particularly the young men. And then we ain't got to throw the rest of the men in prison houses. We can just throw something like this. They'll big progression is right down the choice of anti-life.
Prison house is a big industry, man.
Oh yeah.
He saw get rich on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that prophecy in Isaiah 42 is more so dealing with how Jacob's going to be institutionalized.
Right.
They're going to be following this religion, that religion. Predominantly, when Jake go to prison, that's when they find all this bullshit.
Yep.
You know, and they get trapped in their minds into that whole ideology. You know, that's why the power of the Spirit is upon us to break them strongholds.
Right.
You know, prison bars of your mind.
And there's Israelites in prison that know this and had these breakdowns. You know, that's really however they get in there, they got a cell phone and shit watching the men of the Lord at that time.
Yeah. A lot of our people, they're snared into that trap that Satan got, because like the scriptures say, that the gospel be hidden that basically the God of this world have blinded them. You know? So a lot of our people are blinded by the God of this world because they're being taught by the God of this world. You know, the rulers of the darkness of this world. All right, Jake is following that big that movement, Black Lives Matter, and you see all the men that follow that movement are super effeminate because they're being led by women who's funded by the serpent. She said. And people, this shows you that they knew that their whole mission was sinister, that they fucking took it off their site. When they had basically it was kind of like a memo or a mission statement on their site, Black Lives Matter. And one of the things that was in their mission statement was to basically take away patriarchy as that structure in our community, man. Get rid of basically the fathers out of the household.
So when you go to their website, you can see what they're about. If you're about that, you know what to do. And a lot of our people just, Black Lives Matter, but they ain't thought about what
they blindly follow.
Exactly.
You're blindly following the rainbow crew. You follow Black Lives Matter, you're really following the rainbow crew. It's just disguised. Because it's a mirror reflection of the civil rights movement. You think it is about the cause of black civil rights, the black struggle, being equal. But what was on the back end of that? It was fighting for liberalism. Because the dude who was behind the MLK and pushing forward that movement of the civil rights era, Mayor Rustin, he was a CIA agent and he was an open homosexual. And he was pushing for those rights alongside with the black fight.
Open homosexual?
Bro.
That's down there unheard of back then.
He was pushing it.
And now...
And I dare y'all to look up in the etymology and the etym online, look up homophobia in there. I guarantee you, when you look up the origin, it's going to tell you that it goes back to the exact same era of the civil rights movement.
circa, circa.
It's gonna tell you.
19 years.
There's no coincidence. That's one of the most overused terms
Yeah.
to defend these people, man.
Kind.
You looking it up?
It don't say homophobic, but it say homophobic.
All right, well, yeah, you can look that up.
It say, homophobia, which word is said to date from 1969.
There it is.
19 what?
1969.
That was that same time. That was that same time of the civil rights
That's
era.
when they got that, they planted that seed through the late 50s, early 60s, and then by the time it was in full swing,
That was when the whole
going into
liberal,
legislation.
women's liberation,
Boom.
all
Yep.
that shit was at that same time.
Yep.
It was all being pushed out. This was all the serpents doing, and him tagging along with Eve,
Yep.
and that was a major collaboration.
Another note to add into that time frame was LSD, weed, and all kinds of drugs, right?
Heroin.
Yeah, heroin, all of that was at the same time. It's not a coincidence that they just legalized drugs, right? Like marijuana or whatever right now. They let Jake choose which one, the drug they want to participate in, and they just legalized it. But it's made in the laboratory. It's not made in the earth no more. So they can put in certain qualities into it that is snare and put demons on your mind. So they can hop in, tap into your psyche, your pineal and your subconscious, and implant what they want in.
Yeah.
You see, that whole era really fucked up our people with
Yeah.
things use name, civil rights, and then came the Black Panther movement.
Yep.
That really, it pushes us the right message.
They would have come back to liberalism,
Yeah.
but they were carnal.
At that same time, that's when the truth
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
started to flourish. I was on the scene.
Yeah, Elijah.
So the Lord had a rebuttal to all that. All right? The Lord set up Elijah the prophet to restore the heart of the fathers to the fathers.
Right.
It was all done, man, through the Spirit, man.
The forerunner.
Come.
Yep. Hey, hit your precept, because I want to bring that out anyway.
Chapter 14 and verse 17. Yea, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein.
Talking about all these liberalism. The idea of liberalism is way off, man. It's the idea of death, man. Death is behind it. Meaning you have the right to. It's really liberalism basically breaks down to do what thou wilt. You really look at what it's talking about. Do what you want to do what feels good. Epicureanism.
Yeah.
You know?
Plus-
If they don't got something for that what you want to do, they'll make it up.
Yeah.
They'll say, okay, well you can do this now. Let's add an exception to the. There ain't no rules really.
Right.
As far as that shit goes.
And you can do as much of it as you want. With all things in moderation. You know what I'm talking about? But all things should have a limit to it, man. It should just binge on anything. Food, things that are good for you. Hey, when a Cat Williams said, Tylenol is harmless. Aspirin was harmless, but if you take 14 of them, so no matter what you do, if you do too much of it,
excess.
one thing, it'll overdose you on it and can kill you. And I don't just mean ingesting something or smoking or whatever, anything.
Yeah. Hey.
Do too much nigga music, your spirit starts changing, you know?
You got that nigga song stuck in your head all day.
Yep, chanting it and shit, now you playing it out.
Even studying.
Yeah, even studying it, it's just studying is a weirdness
Yeah.
of the flesh.
Much study is weariness of the flesh.
Much, say it again?
Much study is weariness of the flesh.
There you go. If you study too much, once you learn a few things, hey, it's time to go out and apply it. You have to go out and start exercising those things. Seeing how, because the tool to get the understanding of it is know when to apply it. So you can learn about, any topic, but or how the reasonings of men or whatever. But if you're not out dealing with that, reasoning with men and seeing how men, people of the earth begin to operate, that's how you get the fuller understanding. All right? That was that, right? But it was talking about how the world had become wicked with age, and it was a setup that way with the evils that came upon the earth. You holding? I was holding, right? I was holding. You holding something? Yeah, this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time. So we're going to get weaker, further away from the Most High, following after the tradition of men, the rudiments of the world, until Elijah come back to restore the people to that dividing of time. And we're in that dividing of time now, which was talked about in 2nd Ezra, the 7th chapter, 6th chapter? 6th chapter.
Dividing time.
Yeah, where it said when he grabbed the time and divide, what shall be the time and the dividing of the time?
Asunder, yeah.
Yep.
What should be the party?
Esau should be the end of the world, Jacob should be the beginning of that follows. And then now Jacob coming up is that time that we're trying to come back into living and putting them the old paths and restoring our heritage, and we're going back and finding that righteous path to walk again, away from that wicked way that we were taught and led to. All right, so now the strength is coming back, but like I said earlier, it's the strength that starts in the cleansing that starts in here. It's not, it's nice to be physical and be physically strong, but this is where the cleansing and strength really has to be built up at, your faith. All right, so that was the point. So whatever brothers had, or whatever brothers want to bring out.
We finish up on that word language?
Language, I had.
Yeah.
Was that you reading that word?
The hardy people, yeah, I believe so. Psalms 82.
The word language. That's basically what we're witnessing, the deterioration of the Lord's creatures in the earth.
To the Romans 8.
Failing strength exhibit signs of approaching death.
Signs of approaching death.
Yep.
You see that the world is siding with Satan right now.
Yep.
You read it was that Wisdom of Solomon towards the end of the 2nd chapter. It says that through envy of the devil, death came into the world. And them that do take hold of his side do find it. So everybody that's down with this whole pride shit, they're siding with death.
Yep.
And they're trying to push it on your children and your children's children. Forward in the spirit of death.
Man, these weak brothers, man, they don't want to be men, man. They don't want to be men. They're afraid to take punishment. They're afraid to lose. They're afraid to get their ass whooped. So they opt out to be a bitch, man. Most have forgive me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the men do it. You see a lot of the homeless men. They don't want to be a man. They don't want to go through no, you know what I'm saying, tribulation, and then they want to hop in the front of the line with the women.
They don't want to stand up.
You know?
You saw Ray J recently, right? Little faggot ass Ray J.
Watch it, bro.
He was basically talking about
The real men
all the real men. We need to support them.
Yeah.
All the real niggas, we need to get behind them and this and that. Like, nigga, don't project your because how you get down that you want others straight real men to follow suit.
Misery love company.
You know what I'm saying?
He's starting training basketball.
What?
You know what I mean?
That boy, he got
The Most High gonna destroy that little peanut head nigga, man.
Ray J, come on, man. The spirit of lust is in that man's mind.
Yeah.
Ray J, for the brother, he has no talent. For the brother to last in Hollywood as long as he has.
Oh, you know he had to do it all.
Yeah.
He had to do it all.
The brother Ray J, man.
Yeah.
He real effeminate. He real effeminate, man. Don't let them don't let the Kim sex tape fool you, man.
Right.
All them niggas, they all get down like that. That's why he would advocate for such a thing. All right? And the scriptures tell you about that in Romans, the 1st chapter. Paul broke it down. Anybody that not only that do this thing,
but those that have pleasure in them
that do it, you're worthy of death.
Yep.
Because you're part of the problem, man.
Okay.
What you gonna do when it actually affects you and your children?
That's what Jake don't realize. When Jake, he always says, as long as they don't bring that to me, I'm not gonna judge him. I'm not gonna judge him. So when your son brings home a nigga, what you gonna say then?
They want to go to the room, close the door.
He closed the door, yeah. And he
acting all effeminate